great to be the track that is between you and lunch, right? That is the best spot to have at any conference. And it's the last day, so our voices are sore. Well, mine is.
Mine
Lack
too.
of sleep. It's very growly. We're going to do our best. But welcome to our talk about mistaken identities, which is a tale of how João and I have been mistaken for other people for 20 years.
Yes, and it's funny because I come from Portugal, Sanne comes from the Netherlands, but apparently we have similar stories to tell. But in order for us to tell you those stories, we need to go back 20 years. So let's go back to the year of 2004, where this was apparently the most popular phone back then. There was no such thing as a smartphone.
You needed to flip it.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And I remember having one of these phones. But also, something happened during that year. Over there, you can see me back in the summer of 2004 on vacation in Madeira in the middle of the Atlantic. And something special happened, which Gmail launched as a beta thing, you know? And I remember at the time I got excited because it was like I was struggling with my email account and my personal email, and it's like, Gmail, it's from Google, it's when Google was cool. So I was like, yeah, I want to have my own Gmail account.
And you needed an invite, remember?
Yeah, you needed an invite.
You couldn't just get one. You got 5 invites every time you got a Gmail address. You had to wait for one of your friends to get you in.
Yeah, and so a friend let me in, and on...
You had friends?
Yeah, I did. Well, at least one. Back in September 18th, 2004, I joined Gmail. You have a similar story, right?
Yes, that was the year that I finally got an iPod. I was fucking excited. I got all my music on there, and a whole 16 days before João, one of my friends sent me an invite. Also, I was a year younger. I was 20 at the time, and obviously still not quite gotten over all those zits that you get. That lasted quite a long time. And it was the first time I took on a professional email address, because of course my Hotmail had been Goldilocks99.
Mine was alternate@hotmail.com
Double
with
N.
double N.
Double
yeah,
N,
just to be edgy.
Just to be edgy. So we finally, I want to know what yours was after this talk. So we ended up very iconically being early and being nerdy and having friends, claiming João and Sanne Visser at gmail.com, First.Lastname.
And this is very convenient, but it also became problematic, and we're here to tell you those stories. So, because there's a thing you gotta understand is how common our names are within our cultures. I want you to do a small exercise. Take your smartphones.
You're allowed to check him out. Go on.
Go to Google and just put in my name, search for my name, and then check the images. Okay?
Don't worry about the special characters. Even if you don't add them, you will still get results.
Gonna give you a few moments.
Also, if you...
But...
You could go to images as well instead of the search results. That's also fun.
It's images. It's gonna be the best one. And I'm gonna ask a question now, okay? Which is, raise your hand if you see at least one person who shares the same name as me, who is not me, okay? Leave your hands open if you see 2 people at least. 3 people.
At least
4
one
people.
That's better looking than João.
Well. You get, there are several people throughout the world that are called João Proença, as you can figure out. But I'm guessing, and I want to, again, to see a raise of hands, if you saw this dude. Okay, we'll come back to this dude, and you'll understand.
We surely will, yes.
So, let's wind back the clock even more. I was a 16-year-old back then, I don't remember the year, in the 90s. And I went on vacations with my dad and my family. And of course, I was a minor, so my dad was he took care of everything. And we arrived at the gate because we were going to Madeira, where we used to go every summer. And the lady at the counter was like, "I'm so sorry, sir, but the plane is full of people and there are no spaces for you, so you need to go on the next plane in 8 hours." To which my dad said, "Well, that's overbooking, so I'd like a reimbursement, please."
No.
No.
It's just very full. And there's no seats left.
That is the definition of overbooking. And so, of course, then it was like, okay, I'll sort this out with the airline company. But then later on, months went by with my dad kind of like debating the definition of overbooking with the airline company until one day he received this call. Hello, I need to talk to Mr. João Proença. My 16-year-old kid, why? Oh, I'm from the airline company. I need to reimburse Mr. João Proença. It's like, right now, I have express orders, but that makes zero sense. He's a minor. I'm the one with the reservation. I'm his dad. It's like, no, I don't care. I have a check. The name written on it is João Proença, and he's the one who's getting the check. I need an address. They send the check. My dad even tried checking it in, and it didn't work at the bank. He ended up being fined. I had to deposit the check and then transfer the money to my dad. And we were like, okay, that was weird, until we started thinking about the thing, and then we realized what probably happened. Remember the dude you saw in the pictures? President of the General Union of Workers in Portugal. So it's like, you have unions in Portugal, and then you have this conglomerate that basically unites all of the unions, and then this dude is the president. He's like the highest figure union-wise back then in Portugal, and he had the same name as me. So someone probably inside the airline company saw, you're not reimbursing João Proença, the president of the General Union of Workers? Are you mad? You want us to get into the news? Please give him the money. And this was the thing that happened, and it was quite a funny story.
Quite a funny story, and it's the same thing that happens if you Google my name. Go ahead and do that if you're still interested, if you still want to take a look. I am a bodybuilder, I get offered modeling contracts, and one I'm particularly proud of, I invented this very special new fabric that is ecologically more responsible, that has really changed the world, apparently. So why does this happen to us? And of course, it has to do with name frequency. So just to show you out of interest, this is the name graph for Sanne in the Netherlands. Baby girls, the graph goes to about, I think, 1,400 people at the top there. So you can see from like 1984, which is my birth year, I became the most popular baby girl name. And there are also boy Sannes, by the way. And it stayed that way after that. So for the past 20 years, I've been in the top 3 or 5 names for girls in my country.
Yeah, in my case, João basically means John in Portuguese, and it has always been one of the most common names in my culture as well. And don't forget, Portugal is a small place, but Brazil
is a little
it has
bit
a
bigger.
lot of people.
And we don't know what our parents were thinking, because they knew they had common last names. Why did they do this to us? And now, having suddenly claimed our Gmail addresses, we were in for a whole bunch of fun.
Yes, and so this thing, which was kind of funny regarding like the General Union president, was funny back then, but then it translated into my Gmail account experience, because over the years, I started receiving a few emails that were addressed to him, and I'm talking about things really arriving at the wrong targets. I once received an email where they basically wanted to fire 100 people at a city council, and they wanted a meeting with the dude to negotiate the terms of the layoff. And all of a sudden, myself, I received that. I could have just sent that to the press.
Yes, but you didn't just get that email. You got the attachments with the numbers.
Exactly.
Yeah. And this is the choice that João and I face all the time. We get these emails, and then there's a choice to make to respond or not, to tell the other party, you've emailed the wrong person here, and also you've leaked sensitive documents. Do we or do we not tell them? And there's no hard and fast rule here. We've tried to look into, like, is there a kind of a heuristic that we both apply to do this? There isn't really, except that we both seem to feel that when it gets personal, we get involved. So most of the time, if it's someone signing up for a service and it's accidental, like Instagram and PayPal and I don't know, 100 others, Facebook happens a lot, we don't respond. But when we do, this is the email I typically send. Dear stranger, you've emailed the wrong person. Please remove me from your address book, because otherwise you will email me again, and I really don't want you to. Also, I've deleted this from my end to sort of assure them I've deleted those attachments with those salary figures. Hugs and kisses, Sanne Visser, but not the one you meant to email, a different one. And then, please, for the love of God, stop emailing me. And the interesting thing about this response part of it, 9 out of 10 times there's no reaction. You don't get anything back. If you're lucky, you don't get emailed again. And then sometimes, 1 time out of 10, you get a very polite, "We're so sorry, this will never happen again."
Yep. And of course, like this, when it comes to certain systems that have registrations in place, it's all about the way they are designed and if they are opt-in or opt-out. And usually they're designed to be opt-out, you know? Very easily, if an email appears somewhere, all of a sudden you're getting newsletters or you're getting registration emails in your inbox, whereas things should be designed the other way around, where a more explicit mechanism is in place to opt in to receiving these emails.
Yeah, it's usually more like, "Welcome, and here's like 100 things we want you to do," instead of, "Please confirm your account." We'd rather get that other one first.
Yeah.
Where are you? All caps. Now, if you, like me, have notifications up on your phone and you're a mom, and in the middle of your workday this pops up into your Gmail, I had a mini heart attack. I clicked into it, and it says, "Hey, Mrs. Visser." Okay, I already know this is not family. Good start. "We need to urgently discuss something with you, Amy and I." I didn't know the I didn't know Amy. I knew Amy's. And this was one of those where it's like, how did this happen? How did you end up emailing me? And why are you yelling?
Yep. I also have mine. So I receive mobile phone bill payments. It's very funny because in Portugal, I received the invoices for 3 different individuals. Only one of them is me. And so, because apparently they registered these different people. One of them is actually called Maria João, so she's a woman, as far as I know.
She lives in your neighborhood,
She lives in my neighborhood, according to the address. That is true. And the funny part about Maria João is that not only I started receiving emails, but it's the same provider that's my provider. And I actually use that to my advantage. I received her invoices, and I noticed she has a better deal than I do. And so when I renegotiated my contract, I was like, look, since I'm receiving her emails and you don't fix this, you don't unregister me from her emails, look, I've seen that she's got a better deal than me. Can I have her deal as well?
You got it, right?
Yes, and I did.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry about that.
So how about building a house? There's this lovely region in Maassluis. There's a group of owners that are very clearly building houses, and all 21 of them are in a group, and they keep getting emailed by the contractors. This is what it costs to lay the foundations, this is what your kitchen's going to cost, this is what's going to cost to paint the building. And recently, they've now finished the houses. On the 3rd of October, I got this email welcoming me to the Corporation of Owners. Lovely. So if you need to know where these houses are, I can send you the address. You can have a look at them on Google. They turned out really nice.
Congratulations on your new purchase.
I know, it's beautiful.
Well, let me tell you about the gentleman in France.
This is my
if we want
favorite.
to up
The dude
game.
in France.
So apparently there's a João Proença in France. A lot of people in Portugal over the decades went to live in Paris and whatnot. And
City of love.
yes, and Mr. João Proença in France, this 52-year-old gentleman, at one point in his life, he was looking for love. So
Clearly.
he started registering to not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, about 7 or 8 different dating sites for people his age, to which I start receiving all of the registration emails and whatnot. But then at one point, something started to shift, where it's like he registered to a place called the Place of the Celibataries, and I don't really know what goes on there. And then eventually, I started receiving emails from the father in this parish, the priest. And he was sending me, apparently Mr. João Proença in France was now registered into the church newsletter, and I was receiving these emails in French. And one day I decided to email the father, like we say, it started getting personal, and I'm not even Catholic. And I was like, hey, can you please unregister me from this newsletter, dear sir?
This response is gold.
And his response, translated, was, well, you're on our mailing list because you had your daughter Mila baptized here, and you're integrated into the local Catholic community. We want to continue to inform you about the local life of the parish group. Also, I will respect your wishes, especially since Matilda, your wife, receives this information too.
Do you think Matilda knew about the dating sites?
I don't want to ask. I'm not. To which, afterwards, I just emailed back to Father Didier, hey, dude, I've never been to your part of France. I have no idea what you're talking about. And then I was like, oh, quel dommage, pardon.
And then there's the turtles, because as we all know, the world rests on the back of 4 elephants and turtles, and then... So one day, a couple of years ago, I got sent this document called Fotocollage Schildpad nummer 2.
Live demo.
Live demo. Now, we wanted to show you an Instagram and a TikTok account that I was able to start owning. But they appeared to be owned by minors, so we decided not to demo that here. But this document is full of turtles. And I've had it for years, and I don't use Google Drive much because of the email address thing. And every now and again, when I'm back on there and collaborating with João on slides on Google Slides, I remember this document, and I add a turtle.
So we're going to add
We're going to add one more today live. Insert turtle, have a
I like
pic.
this one.
You like that one? Let's have that one.
Okay.
And I wonder what the other 36 people with whom this document is shared think about this document still being updated 5 years later. Right,
Okay.
so back to some more stories.
Okay, so these are funny stories, but what is the scale of this thing? So let me explain on my personal case how often this happens.
We realized everyone has gotten a wrong email at some point. The difference is scale, and we thought we'd add some numbers.
I get on average 1 email per day, which means 360 emails per year that I can clearly identify are not targeted at me. I can name at least 16 different individuals throughout the world, 10 alone in Brazil. Because in Brazil, they have this, you probably know about it, where they have this system where you buy things, and instead of receiving a paper receipt, you can automatically receive it in your email.
Inbox.
And I've identified 10 different tax IDs from 10 different people. Brazil is also funny because there's lots of João Proenças, but then there's this one dude that I received invoices, stuff from his bank, and I've even received a photograph of him, and he's called Denilson Ferreira de Souza. What the?
Why are you using João Proença?
Yeah, so I receive pay slips. I receive all kinds of financial data, like invoices, NFC payments, loans due. I owe money to people, apparently. Statements. I have been summoned to court in one of the states in Brazil because apparently I haven't paid my bills. Bank transfers, a lot of sensitive information with very telling pieces of data in there, including ID numbers for all the different things you can think of. Stuff that a more malicious actor could use to impersonate those people. And
Tax IDs, phone numbers, social securities,
Yes.
addresses, everything.
And then, I work for a healthcare company, and I know that this is especially dangerous. I receive healthcare records for some people in the EU, and that's actually a very, very nasty violation of EU regulations for healthcare.
Yeah.
And if the companies that are involved in this knew, or if this got out, they would be facing very heavy fines.
There's one psychiatrist in The Hague that keeps sending me my antidepressants.
Yeah, and there's apparently a doctor in Portugal called João Proença, and people are just sending emails
To collaborate
him.
on cases.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, Christ.
Yes.
So I had a PayPal problem once. Very early on, I decided my PayPal should not be attached to sannevisser@gmail.com. But when you're just scanning your inbox and you get that, please confirm this transaction, you do take a look. And immediately noticing it was addressed to that address, I was like, this isn't my account. That's fine. I'll just ignore it. They won't be able to make the payment. This will go away. And then it happened again the next day. And then the next day. And then twice a day. And then 3 times a day. Like, clearly this payment needed to happen. Like, they were continuing to try. So I thought this is a good moment for a little bit of scripted test automation. Because I couldn't log in and claim the account like I could for the TikToker, but I could continue to SMS them with verification codes nonstop until they finally deactivated this. And that's what I did. I spammed that phone number until he finally stopped trying to make that transaction go through in my email.
That's right.
It's all right. So this is the thing. If you're going to send us emails, anyone from your company, have a little look at what you're sending out. I recently got an email to come and pick up my furniture at the store, and it contained both the other person's phone number and their address. If you're picking something up in store, why did you put that on the email? It shouldn't have been there. I didn't need it, and it would have been fine if that hadn't been on the message. It wouldn't have been a breach. And the other thing is the encryption in the BCC. Like you saw, those other 36 people in the Turtle document, why are they visible to me? You could have just added them as BCC users. And attachments, another thing. It's problematic that we receive them, but it's even more problematic we can read them. The fact that I know specifically which antidepressants Sanne gets in The Hague is a problem. And so one thing we really like that is a feature that you can add to any email you send out is in the header, add this little unsubscribe. There's a little piece of text you can add to any email that makes this button pop up on almost all email processing platforms, and definitely on Gmail. The other thing you'll notice very briefly here, just a security thing, because I want to help you out, don't display images of anything you receive. Toggle that thing to the, never download images. It's a security thing. You can very easily be hacked through pictures and kind of flashy stuff in emails. Just put that off, especially if you get this much spam.
Yep. Now, why do we believe this happens?
Why does it happen?
Yeah.
What were our parents thinking?
We have a few theories that may not be obvious at first. So there's the first scenario, and we don't have, we don't know for a fact, but we can kind of see the symptoms of it. The first thing, for me, it's autocomplete health, especially those ones where it's like, where are you? I've gotten those meeting emails as well that are not intended for me. And I think it's someone that's on their iPhone rushing a message somewhere. Instead of typing João Proença at yourcompany.org, it just auto-completed it to gmail.com, and they didn't
end up
even
emailing
notice.
us.
Exactly. Then there are digital exclusion situations. There are people that they are involved in the web. They are involved online. People that do not understand technology to a certain degree, but they are involved in social media and they want to be a part of it. But they don't really understand how email works, or maybe they don't actually remember what their email account is, and then they end up defaulting to what they believe the email address is, and they just put joaoproença@gmail.com
and genuinely think it then comes and arrives to them. They don't make this mistake on purpose.
Yeah.
They just don't understand it needs another number or a letter.
This is also related to the next one, which I call the clueless operator effect. Someone designs a system that has a mandatory field for an email, and then they are facing a prospect customer or something like that. Once that person wants to register, I don't have an email account. I can live and not have an email account. Then they're like, what the hell do I put into this box? And then they're just defaulting to
First.Lastname.
First.Lastname@gmail.com for some reason, because they need to take care of that.
They have to fill in something, they need to do their jobs, and someone decided in the process that had to be mandatory and didn't give them escape. And then there's the identity online wars between the big four. This article is from 2014, and it really hasn't changed. They want to be the company that brokers your identity online. You will have seen this. It's the syndicated logins through other platforms. So you use your Gmail to log into a different service. And they've been trying, and nobody's winning, which means it's non-standard, it's chaos, and it's still very much dependent on the username, and the username is very frequently related to email or names. And even to this day, it's worse because of all the deepfakes. Because now it becomes even more impossible to really tell a deepfake from an actual person, and generically, common names will be used more often. Recently, at this conference, someone showed me a passage from a book that contains a son of Visser. Apparently, I'm a frosty ice witch.
Exactly. And this part really scares me, because we're entering an age, we're already at that age, where stuff like video and image, you can't trust it anymore, because every day there's new technology coming out that makes it easy to create a completely fabricated video of João or Sanne. And when these things then get combined, it's easy to basically commit fraud.
And to just be continually playing catch-up like we have been for the past 20 years.
And this is kind of like a side note, but I do believe, I have been thinking what will be the solutions for this in the future. I don't have a solution, but there is a very interesting quote that I have here from Yuval Harari, who he wrote a few very notable books. One of them was Sapiens, and most recently he wrote Nexus, which is about AI and its relationship with human beings. And I saw an interview where he he believes that the way we're going to fix this is to revert back to institutions. So what he means is, back in the day when new technologies came about, like the printed press and whatnot, all of a sudden it was easier to spread out fake news and propaganda.
And then news agencies became important.
Exactly. People were like, what can I trust? What are the sources of information that I can trust? And he believes that somehow in this new age where someone can try to steal your identity in new ways, especially with video, we're going to rely more on institutions rather than just rely on the media.
Right. And then the two institutions that we really would love as people who have suffered through this for the past 20 years is, one, have a place to report data breaches as consumers. There is currently no way as an individual to report these data breaches. There's only collated information at a bigger level, and there's no individual complaints place where you can just quickly make a report. Just give them a little incident report, like here's a thing, maybe if you have more of these people, you can go and talk to this company. There's no place for us to do that. And the other thing that we would really, really, really love is to have an identity structure in place online that allows us to be who we are and does not depend on our names. Please, for the love of God.
Now, these are big solutions that maybe they're going to take a while to get there. And we're at Agile Testing Days. This is a testing conference. What can you do that at a more smaller scale and even within your own contexts? Well, first, look at the features that you have. I'm willing to bet that the majority of people here work for companies or offer their services to companies that have features for registration. How is the confirming an account, what the process is like, what does it look like in these apps? How do you offboard?
Oh, this is so frustrating. The amount of times I email help desk and they're like, you just need to log in and delete your account. I'm like, I can't. I didn't sign up in the first place.
Exactly. Or even those ones that you receive where it's like, you receive an email and it says, welcome to our platform. If this wasn't you, don't do anything. Okay, I'm not doing anything. Well, why am I still getting more emails? It's like, that's way worse than me just clicking on a button saying, this isn't me, please do not send me any more emails.
Also, it feels more like I'm in control when I get to tell them, this is not me.
And then, of course, it's not just about the technology, but also about the processes. And this is kind of like testing more of like the human nature and the processes within your own company.
Operator.
Exactly. Like, imagine if someone calls customer support at the company you work for, telling them, hey, someone registered with my email and it's not me. How would the company react? Who would be responsible for those cases?
Is it even in your How Wiki for your customer service?
Like, are you prepared to delete data? All of these different questions.
Often they won't, because they're like, we're not sure if you're the one that's fraudulently calling or if the person owning the account is actually calling.
Exactly. And then, of course, testing for these scenarios can be very interesting and very new, at least for me. This is where I believe personas come in. So the next time someone is building a registration feature and you have to test it, put yourself in our shoes.
Yeah, feel free to add João, feel free to add Sanne as a persona, and use this.
Imagine being a person that is not related to the product at all, and they're not registering, but somehow they ended up there.
If you put hashtag ATT24, we will even respond. So this is the scary part. This is funny, right? These are the people that are emailing us by mistake. There's a whole bunch of emails in there that are malicious. But the other side of this, I think, is even more scary, because we are the definition of a confirmation, which is there are emails out there that should have gone to you, that didn't, and went to someone else. And we know that's true because it happens to us daily. So what information out there was supposed to have gotten to you that didn't? And what risk does that open you up to? So I think we don't need to tell you.
You know our emails.
Feel free to contact us. We may or may not respond.
And please rate our session. We had a lot of fun putting this one together.
Yes, thank you.